everyone, my name is Catherine and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about some of my biggest travel mistakes that I have done throughout my different years of traveling, because we are all bound to get into some kind of situation while traveling, whether it's something that has to do with packing or something that has to do with other people abroad or whatever it may be. And looking back on my different travel experiences off the top of my head, because I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, I thought of a few that I wanted to include, and even just including these few could possibly be a good learning lesson. I definitely learned from it, and maybe you listening will be like, that's obvious, why did you do that? And you know what, things happen. Sometimes you let your guard down, or you don't think about a certain thing, and then you find yourself in a situation. But if anything, just find entertainment out of previous Catherine's pain. So let's get into it. I noticed a few different experiences that were some of my biggest travel mistakes happened to be while I was studying abroad. So in 2016, I was an undergraduate student and I wanted to study abroad so badly, and I decided to do so with Semester at Sea. If you haven't heard, Semester at Sea is basically Sweet Life of Zach and Cody on deck. You live on a ship, you take classes on a ship, and basically your campus is a ship, and you go around to different countries depending on the semester. The voyages all look a little bit different, especially with the whole pandemic situation. I went pre-pandemic, so it's pretty consistent whether it was fall or spring where you would go. And then when you dock into a country, you have your couple of days in country where you just travel, whether it be with Semester at Sea on programs or independently, and you would only take classes when you were on the ship going from country to country, and it would be like A and B days versus like days of the week. Just kind of giving some background on how that all worked. The first country that we stopped in was Japan, and I have a few photos, and whenever I see them, it just reminds me of the mistake I made. And that is, I wrote down on my phone, so I'll be looking down at my notes, boots in Japan. So I decided, because I was doing independent travel with a bunch of other people on Semester at Sea, and we were going to go from Yokohama to Tokyo to Kobe and a few other places, so we were really going around the country. And to save space, I wanted to basically have everything that I needed for those 6 or so days on my backpack, on my person. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna have one pair of shoes. And instead of wearing like my trusty, well-loved sneakers or whatever it is, athletic shoes, I decided to be cute and bring a pair of boots and just wear that, because it was January or February. I think it was still January at this point. So it was winter in Japan. I looked at the weather and I was like, yeah, I'll wear boots. And these boots I've worn so many times and they've never given me any issues, and I thought I'd be good, and they're cute. I was wrong. I was very wrong. So even if you have a pair of shoes they are just like, they've never given you issues and you've worn them throughout the day and they're good, but they're like a boot or something that's not like a sneaker or athletic shoe, there's a difference when you're like home and wearing a shoe throughout the day, and when you're actually walking all day long non-stop for several days in a row in the same pairs of shoes. So I just really wish I told my former self, like, do not wear those boots. And I feel like it doesn't sound that bad, but honestly, I was in so much pain. I remember this one point where like I didn't want, it was horrible because I didn't want to slow down the group, and I'd only been on this study abroad program for like 2 weeks at this point. And we were going down the stairs into the metro, and every time I took a step down, there was like searing pain shooting at my feet. And I was like having to hold on to the railing and like sidestep a step at a time going down, with every single step just shearing pain. And it just like really freaked me out, because like there's certain family members in my family that have like some serious feet issues, and I was like worried that that was starting for me, and I was only in my 20s, early 20s at that point. But really it was just like the combination of everything with the wrong foot attire was a big no-no. And I was honestly debating on going to the Japanese doctor. Like I was like, I don't know if I can survive this. It was horrible. And with the types of traveling that we were doing with the people that I was traveling with, we were like not stopping at all, like constant walking. We would get to one destination, see it for like 20 minutes and go on to the next. So there was a whole side, I guess, travel mistake on the side there, where you need to find the right people to travel with and the right way you want to travel. And I feel like with that, you do really need to learn as you go and trial and error. But that was, I guess, another mistake, is traveling with a whole bunch of students versus just a couple of students, because there's just too many things going on, too many opinions. And someone would have to stop and like get a phone charger in the store, for example, if they forgot theirs, and all of a sudden 2 hours goes by and you're still there. Even like for lunch, we would just stand there and quickly eat and then continue on, and it just didn't help my feet. So that is one mistake, is just be careful of your footwear. Like, do not choose cute shoes. Choose your trusty, athletic, you can work out in these shoes type of shoes. And I guess the second one, which I didn't mean to go into, is just figuring out who you want to travel with and the best way you want to travel with. And don't travel with like a huge group of people unless it's like an organized tour. This was just like a bunch of students off of a ship, and I noticed over the 6 days it got smaller and smaller and smaller, and people tapered off until there was only 2 of us left, literally me and one other girl. And with that, I wasn't vocal with like what I wanted to say, what I wanted to do. I didn't do a bunch of stuff I wanted to do in Japan. I still had fun overall, other than like my feet being in searing pain and the fact that I just didn't do a lot of stuff I wanted to do in Japan. And that is why I'm planning on going to Japan next year. Now the next one, the sickest I've ever been in my entire life by a lot. And I haven't told like my family about this. I haven't told a lot of my friends about this because I didn't want to worry them, and it was traumatic. And by the time I had gotten home, I was fine. Or even well before then, it was really just when I was in this particular country. But it was in Myanmar. So I actually, to be quite honest, even though I love geography and I think I'm a geography nerd to a certain extent, I did not know what Myanmar was. It's also known as Burma as well, but I personally like to call it Myanmar. It is right here. I don't know if it's kind of like not showing up in the best way, but it is in South Asia. It borders China, Thailand, Laos, like kind of that area. And it is known as being one of, if not the poorest country in Asia. I didn't do any crazy trips while in Myanmar. I just kind of stayed in the capital where the boat was docked and just kind of spent the night at the boat every day. On semester at sea, you have no internet. Like, it's very, very, very limited, with like 3 different websites or something that you get. At least this was the case when I was on it in 2016. I've heard it's gotten somewhat better. But also, side tangent, that was one of the best parts, is to just be unplugged from the outside world and really make genuine connections and play lots of board games. But anyway, a lot of times students like to go to internet cafes just to be able to see what's going on in the world, talk to loved ones, or do whatever they need to do, which is understandable if it's to a certain extent and you're not truly like, you're still making the most of your travel. So there's a moment in Myanmar where me and my friends went to a cafe to take advantage of the internet. And of course, while we were there, we wanted to get some drinks, so we're not, you know, we're paying customers. If you go to a country and you're advised as an American or wherever you're from, tourist, to avoid dairy, to avoid maybe meats or like eating street food or something like that, because your body isn't used to it and there could just be some complications that come with consuming food that you're just not used to. I am pretty good at this. I'm typically a kind of anxious and paranoid person and just do not want to play that game. But at that point, it was like almost halfway through semester at sea. I've done several countries. I've been good so far. And when I get into this cafe, it looked really nice. It looked like super well done and new, and like the decor was really nice and it was modern. And I thought, you know, a milkshake sounds really good. So I got a milkshake. Even though I was advised on semester at sea, they told us to avoid dairy. Well, I don't know why. I just thought if this place looks nice, it must be okay to drink their dairy. So I was doing the internet stuff and consumed my milkshake. And then before leaving, I decided to go into the bathroom. When I went to the bathroom, which was in the back, as soon as I saw the back, I realized I had made a grave mistake, because I saw how truly unsanitary it was. And yeah, so soon after I went to the bathroom, we had left and we were walking around in downtown, and it hit me. It didn't take long to hit. I don't remember how long, but maybe not even an hour. And I was already like throwing up in the streets. And I never get sick like this. I never throw up. I don't drink. I don't experience this. Like, I've thrown up in my life, but it's so rare for me to do so, and it's always really concerning when it does, because I feel like usually when people throw up, it's because they like drink a lot or something like that. And if you don't drink, that's not a thing that you come up with in your life. But I was so sick, and I remember like being on the bus later in that day going back to the ship. I was throwing up in the bus. And then I remember getting off the bus and trying to make it to my room and having to like quickly like run to my room so I don't throw up in the hallway. It was horrible. And then I was like bedridden for like a couple of days after. I prepaid for a daytime tour and I had to skip it. I got up and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do life out and about and like not throw up and just be sick. It was horrible. And a lot of people actually got sick in Myanmar. My roommate at the time, she did you have to, for every single class on semester at sea, you have to do a in-country field trip, but it's like 20% of your grade or something like that. So when you sign up for classes, you need to make sure that you're able to attend this field trip program. And my roommate had hers in Myanmar for one of her classes. Her whole class got sick, and she was like, I don't want to get graphic. I thought I was bad because I was throwing up constantly and all the time. I did not know that my body could hold that much fluid. I was shocked. It was a real eye-opener for my body. But for her, she had blood coming out of both ends, let's just say. I did not have that. So I was like, okay, could be worse, could be worse. But like, we're both miserable in this tiny, tiny room. And that was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. Never again, please. Just if somewhere is like, if a place is like, don't consume dairy as a foreigner, just don't do it. Don't do it. My next one also has to do with semester at sea. Clearly is a learning opportunity for me, not just in the classroom, but in real life, I guess. And that is with shipping and customs. With semester at sea, it ended in like just outside London, and I did the spring voyage, which means that when my semester ended, it was summer break. So instead of going home straight away, I, like many other students, decided it's summer and we're in Europe. Let's take advantage of this. And that is exactly what I did. So I made plans with some people to travel in Europe, and it was great and it was so awesome. But I had like I had a whole semester's worth of stuff with me, and in order to do a trip in Europe for a couple of weeks, I don't need all of that stuff with me, all my textbooks, all my school stuff, all that clothing, all the souvenirs I bought in different countries. So Semester at Sea has this program that they partner up with, and you can ship your bags to your home from England, and that is what I did. I, like many people, overbought and panicked certain things, and one thing is DEET bug spray, which is a very like intense level bug spray, because I was going to places that malaria was very present in, along with some other diseases that are carried by mosquitoes. I went to sub-Saharan Africa, for example. I bought more bug spray than I needed, so shocker. I had shipped that with some other stuff home, and I remember debating like, do I throw this out or not? Because I don't need DEET in Seattle, Washington. But I decided I don't want to be wasteful. So I ship off my bags, and I just decided it's summer, I'm done with school, I'm not gonna check my email. Always, at least periodically, check your emails. I never do this now. As an undergrad, after, I always check my emails at some point during the day, every weekday, unless it's like a holiday. I was emailed by customs saying, hey, we need to verify what this is. Is this DEET bug spray? Like, they had some questions about it. And they emailed me again and again, and they said, if we don't hear from you by X date, we're going to ship your bag back to England. And that's what happened. So it costs a lot of money to get a giant bag shipped from England to the US. I honestly don't remember, but it was like in the hundreds, I think. And then they had to ship it back, and it was such a headache. If I had either thrown out my bug spray originally, or just checked my email and just simply said, yes, this is DEET bug spray, it was purchased in the US, we're good. They didn't ask for that much. It would have saved me so much time, so much stress, and so much money. Because in Europe, this was all happening and I didn't realize, but after Europe, I actually flew to the East Coast to visit a friend who was living in DC at the time, and we did a road trip along the East Coast because as a West Coast person, that was really exciting for me to do, and this is before I moved to DC for school myself. But when I was with her, like, that's when I found out my bag was shipped back to England, and it was like so stressful being on the road, trying to email them back and forth, and it was not great. So definitely recommend, if you're shipping things, just be cautious what you're shipping, be honest, and just be in communication, because you don't want that to happen to you. Those are the top travel mistakes I can think of off the top of my head. I know there's more. If I think of enough more travel mistakes, I will maybe make another video in the future, but a lot of them had to do with semester at sea. I will say that is where I've had the like most diverse countries that I visited, so it's kind of more interesting to look at that versus just like going to Europe or somewhere else in the US. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know maybe some of your travel mistakes and what you've learned. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're seeing this, and I hope to see you in a future video of mine. Bye!